We've seen another windy night across southeastern Australia, but more blustery conditions are on the way as another front approaches later tonight. Now, our current wind warning areas are quite extensive across Victoria and New South Wales, but it is worth noting that many of these areas will actually see a lull in the winds through this afternoon, with the risk of damaging gusts confined to the northeast ranges of Victoria and southeast alpine New South Wales. However, across these warning areas, we'll see winds increasing once again later this evening going into the early hours of tomorrow morning. Now, that's likely to impact the western, central and eastern ranges of Victoria, as well as much of the southern part of the Great Dividing Range, including the Blue Mountains to the west of Sydney. But we're also going to see that risk of damaging winds moving away from the mountains as well, covering the surf coast in Victoria, Wilson's Prom and Gippsland, as well as much of southeastern New South Wales, including parts of the Illawarra. So all of those areas are likely to see dangerous winds over the next 24 hours, but mostly overnight tonight and through those early hours of tomorrow morning. Now, winds may bring down trees or tree limbs, potentially leading to minor damage or power failures, as well as leading to dangerous driving conditions in these areas. It's worth noting that many communities in these parts are still recovering from last week's strong winds, so it is worth keeping a close eye on these warning areas over the next 24 hours as this next frontal system approaches. Now, in addition to the strong winds, we're also going to see heat increasing across southeastern Australia over the next few days, and as a result, fire dangers will pick up, particularly through tomorrow. Looking at tomorrow's temperatures and fire dangers, we can see Melbourne is going to get to 24 degrees. That's our warmest day for this week. But Sydney is still looking at a top of 30 degrees for tomorrow. And that heat, combining with the strong winds, is generating high fire dangers through the Greater Sydney and Illawarra Shoalhaven fire weather districts. Now, these high fire dangers don't reach warning thresholds, but they are a message to all of us that dangerous conditions are expected tomorrow with that warm, windy weather. So exactly how will this front move through and what other weather might it bring? Well, through the rest of today, we are expecting a few patchy showers across the southeast. Now, it's mainly high-based showers, so coming from higher up in the atmosphere, which means that we may only see a little bit of rainfall reaching the ground. But as we go through the later part of today, as this front approaches, we'll see winds really increasing across the southeast. Even outside of the warning areas, it may be fairly breezy through this evening going into early tomorrow morning. We've also got a band of rain moving eastwards with the front, and that will sweep through during the day tomorrow, and then the front will move off into the Tasman Sea. That will leave us with relatively settled conditions as we go into the weekend. Calmer winds across the southeast and clearer skies for many areas, particularly across those inland parts of Victoria and southeast South Australia. A few showers will linger across the south, particularly through Tasmania during the weekend, but broadly speaking, the winds will ease and a more settled weekend is on the way. Now, rainfall totals across the next few days are likely to be fairly low, locally moderate through some of these coastal and elevated parts of Victoria. However, through Tasmania, we are still looking at moderate to locally high falls in the west and north, which could impact the ongoing flooding situation down there. Minor flood warnings are still in place from last week's rainfall, and with the rain that's forecast to come through over the next few days, we may see renewed river rises in some of these areas. So it is essential to stay on top of all of the latest flood warnings and any additional warnings over the coming days via the Bureau's website and BOM's social media. Stay safe over the next couple of days, and we'll catch you in the next update.